crow calls, the sun falls, the sun falls. They know the rhythm, they know the rhythm, the rhythm of it.
Hi, I'm Patricia. Welcome to the 110th episode of A Breath of Song, the podcast where I share songs that help me navigate life. I'm so glad you chose to do this today, which is extra special because Maggie Wheeler is joining us for a songwriter conversation. Hi, Maggie. Welcome.
Hi, Patricia. I'm so happy to be here.
I want to thank you, particularly Maggie, for coming back to talk with me. It's been almost 2 years since you did us the honor of being the very first songwriter interview on A Breath of Song in 2021. Episode 5, folks, check it out.
I can't believe it's been that long.
It's amazing. It has flown. We are back to find more ways to sing songs that help us heal, adapt, and grow. Your voice is exactly what's needed for this. I'm coming to you straight from my home in what is now called Burlington, Vermont, on the unceded lands of the Abenaki people. And Maggie, tell us where you're calling from.
I am here in Los Angeles, California, where we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, the Tataviam, Serrano, and Kizh, and the Chumash peoples. And I honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands.
All of our voices will turn up as they are today, and no matter what, we can feel the connection to our breath and the vibration in our body. Let's find how good it can feel to sing. Last week, I shared Maggie's song, This Is It. Today, Maggie will be teaching us a relatively new song of hers called The Crow Calls. We'll learn it slowly so it can settle inside you and we can begin to trust it as a resource. Let it move us into a state of flow. Then we get to enjoy a conversation with Maggie and we'll close out with the song again at the end. You'll always be able to find this episode with full show notes and artwork on the website, abreathofsong.com. Let's start with a good yawn stretch. Oh, yeah. Oh, good grief. You know, it doesn't matter what time of the day I record these. I always need these stretches. Try arcing over on one side and feel the opening along your ribs. Whew, and the other way. Just that widening. And then letting your arms drop down, feeling the wide space in your rib cage. Notice as the air floods in, how it stretches against that space. And releases out. And let it flood into your belly. And as it comes out, let it relax and soften your throat. Throat clearing is always good. Always welcome. And letting the air flood into your pelvic bowl. Maybe even down to your feet, a little deeper, and releasing up through your spine. And just roller coastering for a minute. If you can flubber your lips, go ahead. Some people can trill their tongues. And some people can make wow, wow, wow noises. Yeah. Say back to me. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I clipped my mic. Yeah. Beautiful. Maggie, I'm going to invite you to share the song, please.
Thank you. So the song I'm sharing here today is called The Crow Calls. I took a wonderful songwriting workshop a couple of years ago now, or at least a year and something, with the Women of Rising Appalachia, with Chloe Smith and Leah Song, and it was a wonderful workshop, and it was during a time in the midst of the pandemic where we were really inside our homes in a real way, and so stepping outside for me was this incredibly fertile experience where I felt hyper aware of everything that was around me, and in the container of that songwriting workshop, I felt that relationship to the natural world was even more heightened. And on this particular day, I was walking at sunset, And at the moment that the sun began to set, 80 crows flew over my head and landed in a tree next to me and began to call, to scream. And it was at this exact moment, it was just synchronized with the setting sun. And I stood in the midst of this moment and I thought, what's happening here? What is happening? Are the crows telling the sun to set? Or is the sun telling the crows to sing? And on my way home, I began to write this song. So there are 3 sections in this song, 4 actually, because there's an echo part. The first section says, the crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. And that repeats twice, and it has a little melodic change on the last line. And then there's an echo for that. The crow calls, the crow calls. I'll teach you how that goes. And then part 2 says, we are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. And part 4 says, put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. And that repeats twice as well. And then they all layer on top of each other. And so I will teach them to you and then we can sing them. So the melody of part 1 is, the crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. And you can do a little call and response with me here because this part does echo. So the crow calls,
The crow calls,
the sun falls,
the sun falls,
they know the rhythm,
they know the
rhythm of it all. We'll sing that part together. The crow calls,
the crow calls,
the sun falls,
the sun falls,
they know the rhythm,
they know the
rhythm of it all. So that's part 1. Part 2. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. That is how part 2 goes, and it will repeat a number of times in the piece, and I will sing with it. So if that is a piece that calls to you in the song, you'll have a chance to get used to it and sing along with it. I'll do it one more time just for everybody to hear that melody on part 2. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. So that is part 2. And the last one is, put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. So that's a very rhythmic part. It's the lowest part. And you'll hear that those last lines change. The earth is waiting for us to do the work, do the work. That's the first time.
So cool.
The earth is waiting for us to do the work. So that's part 2. The earth is waiting for us to do the work, do the work. So that's how those 2 things go. I'm going to do that part one more time. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work, put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Okay,
Yes.
So those are all the parts. And now when I play this recording that I made, you'll hear them all come together. And I'll jump around a little bit. So if you want to be singing where I am, you can join me. And if you want to take off on your own, you can. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm The rhythm of it all, the crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm, the rhythm of it all, the crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm, the rhythm of it all. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. The sun falls. Let's heal the hurt. They know the earth is waiting for us to do it all. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. The sun falls. Let's heal the hurt. They know the earth is waiting for us to do it all. Do the work.
Wow. I just could have kept singing that for like the next 20 minutes of this recording.
Thank you. I'm so glad you felt that way.
It's such a beautiful song. I'm so glad you told this story beforehand because I kept thinking about the crow calling to the sun and the sun calling to the crow and that exchange and wanting to be in on hearing it, wanting to be connected.
Yes, I mean, can you imagine if we understood this natural world the way the animal kingdom does in this beautiful grid of communication that we can't see?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm writing songs, sometimes if I start with a specific goal, I want to write about the environment, I want to write about that grid of connection, or it's somebody's birthday, or it's anytime I start with an idea like that, it can be like the death knell to anything powerful or beautiful or true coming through. It just gets really heavy-handed and starts to feel, more like, okay, here is what I'm singing, more like a closing almost than an opening. Does that ever happen to you?
I find that most of the songs that I write, most of them, come in a very organic way. I think there are many different realms of songwriting and of being in touch with the muses that way. Mm-hmm. So, and a song that has an assignment, mm-hmm. which I have also written songs to an assignment. And sometimes I find that can be a little stressful, but it just really depends on the circumstance. I don't think that I've ever set out to say, I want to write a song about this. That I have not done. Mm. If somebody has asked me to say, we need a song that speaks to this, there's something about that relationship to the person who's asked for it that ignites my creativity. And the other kind of method of my madness is that I'm very open to bits and pieces that are traveling through me at any given time. I record them on my phone. I go back to them. Sometimes something comes in whole. Sometimes it comes as a line or a bit of melody, and I go back around to it. And then, of course, during this past 3 years in the pandemic, I found myself really writing to the collective. And that was also a great source of inspiration for me, this kind of deep feeling that we were all having a unified experience. But I think that I don't sit down to say, I think I need to write a song about this. Something comes up in me very strongly, or I don't write.
Okay. Yeah. So, environmental damage, racism, global, local economic inequity, political violence, wars, terrorism, weapons of mass destruction, disinformation, gun violence, drugs, a broken prison system. The list of challenges that we are facing right now in our world is just goes on and on and on, right? Talk to me about what you see that can support us to live with the kind of energy and creativity and desire that might actually make things better in the long run.
You know, I feel that the staving off of despair is really difficult in these times. And these songs, the songs that you collect and share, the songs that the community song movement is bringing into being at this time are definitely something beautiful to lean on. Obviously, activism and action and focusing your energy somewhere, or trying to be of service even in the smallest way in your community, on the street, passing a person in need. You know, we can't change the macro. One person cannot do that. But as a collective, we can change the energy of this time that we're in. And I think that's the work we're trying to do in this movement. And we're trying to address some difficult issues through song, and also trying to soothe people's hearts and souls through song, so that we are sustained enough to do the work.
So you just got back from two different things, right? You just went to Song Village, and then you went to Uvalde, where one of the most horrible, a community nightmare happened, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about having those experiences back to back.
You know, I think I am so cracked open right now, and sort of crying at the sound of running water or whatever. You know, I'm really very cracked open. I will say, let's start with Song Village.
Okay.
Song Village, for those of you who don't know, is a gathering that takes place in Santa Cruz. It is run by Tim and Amy Hartnett, and it is a gathering of song leaders and participants who love to sing. And I don't know how many people, 200, I don't know how many people were there, 150, 180, I don't know. But I was really, really excited to go back this year. I was there 5 years ago or so with Emil Hassan Dyer, who I worked very closely with for so many years. But we were only able to be there for a day and a half, a day, a night, and a half a day, because I think our kids were graduating and things were happening. So we drove on the Saturday. We arrived, we taught a series of workshops. We were part of the community, and we were there for the closing circle. And it was absolutely unforgettably beautiful. So not only was I looking forward to going back to that community, but there are now so many new and wonderful song leaders that I haven't met in person yet. Ale Blakely and I have been communicating over the past year, and I knew I was going to meet her. Two incredible song leaders, Yam and Jesse from the Bellingham area,
who have a podcast that I want to just call out, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I've been waiting for the excuse to name them. Yes.
They are extraordinary. Their podcast is extraordinary. So, so they were there, and Shireen Amini was there, who I haven't seen in a long time, and Amy Ringel, who, you know, I've been touching base with her on her Zoom circles all these past years. And my heart, Debbie Nargi Brown, I mean, so many beautiful people, Lawrence Cole, you know, just too many to name.
You cannot possibly name them all. And so just
but anyway, just to say, my heart, to be in real time presence with these people, and then to be singing with this community of people that leans into song as if it is their last meal. I mean, it is so beautiful. The energy is so beautiful. And I shared the crow calls on I had the first session on Friday morning, you know, out in this meadow under this tent with all these people around me, and it really took off.
Yeah.
And the whole group of people just felt it, and I felt that there we were in this natural setting in the redwoods, just beautiful environment, singing to the earth, and it was really, really, really special. I mean, every moment of it was just incredible. So we sang, as a song leader, I teach however many sessions I teach, and then there are some community gatherings where there are songs shared in the beginning and at the final circle, which is just so full of joy. And then meanwhile, there's all these other things happening concurrently. So you have to choose, am I going to go this way or I'm going to go that way? And it can be a real, tug on your heartstrings about where to go and where to sing and who to sing with because the offerings are so many. So anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful time. And we're well fed and everyone's camping. So it's a little bit rustic, but I'm not the world's best camper. I my husband 2 summers ago built a rig on the top of his truck for a tent so that he could drive across country. So I asked him if he would come with me, and he did. So we went together, and it was really beautiful. He's been by my side supporting my song leading work since the beginning, but he's never been with me in the community of song leaders. He's only been in my choir or at a workshop where I'm the only one. So it was his first experience of this phenomenal community.
Yeah.
So does that answer Song Village?
Oh my word. Yeah. So I'm just trying to deal with all the wishing I had been there kind of feelings. I couldn't come, but it's hard to miss something like that.
It is hard to miss. And they've continued all these past years and Tim is an incredible organizer and he makes these things happen. And it's not, a lot of people don't get to go because there's only a limited amount of space. So there's a waiting list and those people have to wait till next year. So, it's a beloved gathering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so full to the brim, my heart exploding, we drove back to LA and I had one day to, do the laundry, pack, and head to Texas. I'm self-publishing a children's book. It's called Ebenezer Finds a Reason. And I have a dear friend who's drummed for me since the beginning of my choir time and before, actually, even when I was just teaching workshops. Her name is Meredith Scott Lynn. We have a very long friendship. And she'll be coming with us to Omega this summer, actually. And Meredith has an incredible company. It's called Right Brain Books, and it is an education company that's in after school and in school all over the country that gives kids an opportunity to learn about creative writing and authoring of children's books. So she provides classrooms with beautifully illustrated children's books that have no text. And so children get to use their imagination through an entire visual story. And it really is a phenomenal starter for creativity, whereas in most young writing programs in school they give you a white piece of paper with one little line drawing and some lines on the paper and say, what is Joey doing? And so instead you get this rich, incredible experience. So Meredith's been running this company for many years now, and we had a conversation about the publishing end, the printing end of my book, and she said, oh, here's what's going to happen. We're going to rush print the first 500 copies, and you're going to donate them to the kids in Uvalde. I'm going. You have to be there. So she is the one who put the pedal to the metal. We went at full speed to print the first 400 so that they would be shipped to Texas and be there when we got there. My dear friend Kyle Hollingsworth, who illustrated the book, joined us from New Mexico, and Jeff Kinney, who created the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, was also with us, and we went into the school where my friend Meredith has a long-standing relationship because she's been overseeing and guiding this curriculum that the children have been involved with, and it was their ceremony. They have their books, they published their books, their picture is in the book along with the illustrator. They were so proud, and yes, it is really it's a really powerful experience to walk into that community and to go with the intention of raising the joy and to be very, very cognizant of how much pain is there. And we had an extraordinary time, really. It was beautiful. Kyle and I autographed books for these kids. I stood in line they stood in line. I stood at the end of the line. But I hugged and celebrated with so many children, we signed their books. They wanted us to sign their Right Brain books, so we signed their books. We gave them our book, and it was just a beautiful experience. And my heart is wide open today.
Yeah. Carly Loveling, who was a song leader who was present at Song Village, wrote on Facebook afterwards. She said, "Such a joy to be with you again, Maggie. Your songs and your heart shine so brightly. Thanks for your love and support. Your presence is a blessing. Your presence is a blessing." So, yeah, this might be a totally unfair question, but do you have any awareness or any observations about how you go about showing up in this way that other people experience such a sense of joyful support and connection with you?
My goodness. First of all, thanks to Carly for those beautiful words, that reflection. I'm honored to hear somebody speak about me in that way. I
She is not the only one, just saying. I had to pick one quote, but I could have, we would have been here all
Oh
day
my
if I had
goodness.
just kept reading the things.
Look, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I show up with love. I love these people. That's the truth. I could burst into tears. I probably will just now, telling you how deeply I love my community of song leading people. It is it's something. It is really something to be in the presence of other people who feel this same passion and do this same work that is really just the work of some kind of magic, some kind of alchemy. You cannot, I mean, maybe you can kind of, categorize and manage it and push it and make it, but there is something about it that is just so elemental. And when I'm in the company of these people, I feel seen and I feel understood and I see them and I understand them. And I think that's this gift that we give each other, because the work of song leading is it's so wonderful and you get so much from it. And when you're in the presence of other people, which obviously for a long time we haven't exactly been, many people have gone back to work. I haven't started my choir yet, but that exchange of energies feeds the work. But it is also very solitary work, because you have to create, you have to prepare, you have to hold all of this information in your body so that when you walk into a room, you can impart that to other people and give them the belief in themselves so that that song can fly. There is a lot of work that happens just all alone. And there's something about being in that, in being in the presence of other people who do it, that I don't know. It raises something in me, and maybe that's what people feel. And I don't think about it. I just show up as I do, and I love these people. I just do.
I think that is a really great answer to the question. That you show up, you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're bringing this delight in the fact that you can be there, and this love for them. What a hugely generous place to be in, right?
I'm also quite fed by what they do, so I get to sit down also and receive and participate as a
Yeah.
as a singer among singers. So that's also
Yeah.
a great gift for me. Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you participate as a singer and you're in a big group like this, what's happening? What are you listening for? What are you experiencing?
I think it's two things, probably 20 things, but two things that come up right away. One is that I'm really in relationship to the leader. I'm leaning in and looking at and looking to the leader so that I am feeding them as they are feeding us. And I am also listening and leaning into the people on either side of me and what's happening there, so that somehow three people become one person. And then I'm also listening to the greater whole so that I know where I fit in that. And yeah, so I think what am I doing there? I am trying to be the crow,
Yeah.
or I'm trying to be the bee and understand the web and be a part of that.
So when you're song leading and no longer one of the participants, but now you're the song leader, how is that different for you? What happens then?
When I'm song leading, I think what's happening is that I am tuning in to the whole. Again, I think there's that similarity, but I am really making eye contact with people. I am looking to see that they are feeling good and feeling strong. And if I feel that there's an area of the room that needs more help, I'm leaning into that area so that I can infuse that group or that harmony or that section with what they need to feel lifted and feel that moment where it locks in and they go, aha, we got it. And I'm also looking around, one of the things that I noticed, especially at Song Village, because it had been so long since I was leading in person, and I was feeling nervous about it. I mean, we can talk about that too, insecurity, nervousness, imposter syndrome, feeling like a beginner all the time. But I found, and I think I do this also in any group that I'm in, that I'm looking for the people who are feeling relaxed and confident because they are feeding me. So I may be checking in at times. All my attention might be over on the right side of the room, and then I might turn around to the left side of the room and I might look for that person. And then I get fed a little bit by that person who's in it. They're in their body. They know they're good. And I'm like, okay, I could take a little breath there. Now I go back to work.
Okay, so yeah, I'm always up for diving into insecurities and uncertainties and how you're managing to continue with something that can be really an exposed kind of work, right? Mm-hmm. And can be filled with mistakes, right? We make mistakes. At least, I don't know, maybe you have never made a mistake as a song leader, but as a song leader, I have made mistakes. I've gone back and listened to things. I'm like, oh, I was out of tune, and oh, I was singing the wrong notes or the wrong words.
Absolutely.
I mean, and sometimes I'm aware of that right in the moment, and I'm like, oh, this is screwy, and especially, I mean, the looper never lets me lie when I'm looping songs on Zoom. It's just like, okay, well, I didn't sing that really solidly in tune. Let me try it again, which is fine when I'm in a good place. But when my resources are dried, when I'm struggling, when things are hard, things like that can happen and just knock me sideways. Where I get off the call, I'm like, I want to quit. I don't want to ever do this again because I'm so ashamed and so,
It's wild. I mean, that, you see, in those moments, you're like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I keep doing this to myself? And yet we do. So I think that for me, I went through from 17 years of consistent choir leading weekly and several concerts a year, this rhythm. I was in a rhythm. I had these muscles, and the choir and the faces and the people and the schedule kind of fed the choices that I made and the song acquisition and the learning and it had a shape to it that was part of my body and part of my life. Which is not to say I didn't have insecure moments in that context, because I did. But when the pandemic hit and I moved everything online, and then I started Together in Song, which I ran for so long, where people joined me from all over the world, I felt very focused, and I learned a new rhythm, and I learned a new set of skills, and I did what I did, and then I hit a wall, and I thought, I'm completely exhausted. Like this exchange of energy where I went from feeling so purposeful and so directed and knowing that I was providing a service that meant so much to people, and that fed me. But I was ignoring for a period of time the end of my rope. And when I came to that and I stopped, which was a year ago, May, I said, okay, no, now I've been doing my online song circles once a month. That's what I sort of came back to after that time. Well, I'll do it once a month, not every week. But I felt exhausted. And then as I leaned into that exhaustion, I began to feel a kind of separation from the person who knows how to do this job. Where is she? I see her over there. She ran a choir for 17 years. And I see this person over here who's been doing stuff online with the lyrics in the chat. And I see, how do I reintegrate? And Song Village was the gauntlet for me. It was the challenge. It was, actually I held an in-person circle 2 weeks before I left for Song Village. And it was here. It was in a beautiful, beautiful space. But the acoustics were not quite right. And that really kind of gutted me because I needed this moment or I thought I did, to kind of, shore up my reserves, remind me of how I do what I do before going to Song Village. But anyway, I came home. Things went as well as they could, but the acoustics did not do what we all need them to do. And I came home and crumpled up in the fetal position, cried for 2 days. Right. It was difficult for me. And so then pack, go, leave.
Yeah.
And then there was that moment. Maybe the crow calls was the moment where I remembered myself and I remembered the process. But I did another circle, another thing on another night in Song Village, and I didn't, at the end of it, I was questioning myself and not quite sure about the song choices and whether they lifted. It was a different time of day. It was a different place. It was all different. Anyway, I was very hard on myself in the aftermath. And the next morning when we were getting ready to leave, there was a woman, an older woman who was having a birthday, and she was invited up. And she said, I woke up this morning with the lyrics of Maggie's song in my head. And she turned to me, and it was a new song, not one I had taught in person before. And I had kind of rushed through it because I was insecure about the way it was coming together. And I feel, oh God, I can't leave them. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep going until it's perfect. I'm not very good with that. So, I sort of, at one point, I just ejected from it, or we came to an end that I could live with. And in the next morning, this woman who was waking up on this important birthday said that she woke up with my lyrics in her head. And I thought, we just don't know. We're so busy criticizing ourselves or being, or micro managing everything that happened, that we're missing the ways in which a simple lyric or a line is resonating with a person. And that's all we're here to do anyway. So anyway, I continue to struggle. What I feel is that every time I step into a place for the first time, I feel like I'm a beginner, and I feel like in some ways I'm auditioning for the job. I think the choir and the relationship to seeing those same people all the time allowed me to let that go and put it down and have this relationship with this community that could watch me make mistakes and laugh. Or I could say, I got a really tough song and I want to teach it. So we're going to take a couple of weeks, and they will put up with me because they love me and I love them. We've got time. But when you're in a workshop setting and everything has to be right and it's a one-off, it's a lot of pressure. But I also think that authenticity and making mistakes and laughing about them is key.
Because for the people who are participating, when they see that the person who's leading can laugh, that releases for them the need to be singing it back perfectly, or the feeling of pressure, or the feeling of failing, that we're not getting it right. If the person leading can mess up and forgive themselves.
Yes, and I may have talked about this on our first conversation so long ago, but maybe I didn't. But my belief about the process of even learning a song is that the core lesson is forgiveness. And so I'm not so good at giving myself that forgiveness, but I think about it in this way, that as we raise this song and we go through all these imperfect moments and we love it until it feels strong, we are willing to give to the song that which we are unwilling often to give to ourselves, which is time, forgiveness, malleability, elasticity, rebound, try again. It's okay, little song, we're going to get you there.
Yes. Yeah. You did talk a little bit about that in the first interview, which I went back and listened to. I loved the way that you described how you shepherd a song through, and not just the song, but your choir members as well. That act of practicing forgiving a song for being hard to sing then translates into forgiving each other for not getting the notes right, and forgiving oneself. And that it's a way of practicing being in the world the way that we'd like to be in the world.
Absolutely. And I think that, as I speak about it with you now, I'm just reminded about remembering to bring it home to myself, because I am the last one who gets the gift.
Yeah.
And I think as song leaders, that's how we often operate.
You've done so much beautiful work in the world, from sharing laughter to founding a community chorus to writing a children's book, now raising 2 caring young adults, to I don't know, a gazillion other things that I don't even know that you've done, right? Because I don't know you that well yet. We do these every 2 years. We'll get there.
There are so many people, that's happened at Song Village too, so many people that I've met on Zoom but have not met in person yet. And I feel like we already know each other in so many intimate ways. It just feels like we have already met and hugged, and we have not, but we will. Yeah,
we will. What would you say are the common threads in your work in the world?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Laughter, tears, community. I think, I think I think that's kind
That's
of
pretty
where
good.
it lives. Laughter, joy, letting go, and community.
Yeah. There have been 20 interviews with various songwriters between the last time that we talked. It has been an intense few years.
Mm.
You just talked about some of how the process of coming back into song leading is happening for you right now, coming back into in-person song leading. What else is shifting for you? What questions are coming up?
Well, everything has shifted and everything is shifting. And I feel that
Yeah.
I get into trouble right now when I try to stop the shifting. I just feel that I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of questions. My my kind of mode of operation is always to say, well, what's the next right thing? I'm open. I'm kind of waiting on the will of heaven often. I mean, I am sometimes very focused. Once I'm on the road, then I go and then I make things happen. But I don't push the river in that way. I don't, that's just not in my nature to like, well, let me force this and let me do this fast and let me make this happen because I don't have the answer. But I have to say it's been quite the struggle because for the last year, I have gone through quite the grieving process around the shape of my old life. And part of me and part of my heart, my mind, my spirit, my psyche wanting so badly to slip back into this familiar shape. I don't have it. We don't have it. The world has changed. And
Right.
and I
Yeah.
am asking myself the questions about what I want to do, how much energy do I have to do it, what does that look like? I can't do it blindly, and I can't do it in disservice to my body. What I want to be doing is what feeds me. And I know there are some things I know that I don't have to question, but they're the shape of things and how often, like for instance, if I were to start the choir tomorrow, if I found the right place to do it, because we lost our location during the pandemic, and that's been one of the things that has slowed me down so significantly. And then I try to remember that the impediment is actually a gift to me because it's forced me to take more time than I would have and that I might be inclined to do. So if I were to start it tomorrow, if tomorrow somebody found me the perfect location, then the question would be, how often do I want to meet? And what does a session look like? And will we do a concert or will we not do a concert? Or is that a thing of the past? I don't know. I just don't know the answers. Having the responsibility of being the gatherer at this time has taken for a certain period of time, felt like such a burden and responsibility that
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not prepared
Yeah.
to be the reason that this many people get sick in a room or this thing. So anyway, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
I'm rambling on the
Yeah.
answer just to say that there are a lot of questions and that I feel like my only option is just to stay open to the grid and figure it out that way. Yeah.
Can I share an
Yeah.
idea with you that I've been having? I've been going through a similar thing, where I lost my choir, also because I moved then in the middle of the pandemic, and so going back to my old group is not an option. And things are different. Things are different here. It's a very different setup. But when I asked myself that same question, what is it that would feed you? What is it that you feel called to do right now? And I'm trying this. We'll see. It might be that nobody comes, but I've been thinking about flow singing. I've been thinking about it in terms of we're not getting ready for a performance. It's more like a Tai Chi practice. We're moving energy. We're getting together. We're singing the same set of 8 songs for 4 weeks. Every week maybe we'll learn something more, or maybe we won't. We're just deepening, letting those songs deepen into us, letting us deepen into those songs. If we finish them really fast one day, maybe we'll just sing them over again. Very little talking. That all we're doing is getting together and flowing through this arc of songs.
It's beautiful. It's like creating a container for a group meditation.
Yes.
and
Yes.
through the songs that you choose. And it's a beautiful way to think about it. One of the things that I know that I can learn from a lot of the up and coming song leaders is their incredible patience and their ability to stay in a song.
Yeah.
I am a bit of a rusher, and I'm sort of a more the merrier person when I go to teach. And how many songs can we get done, and in this amount of time that will make people happy and excited and feel things. But I am also really deeply curious and leaning into this other way, that I see other people holding, where they are willing to stay in a song long enough for some other things to happen, some other interesting things to happen. So I think that's a really beautiful plan that you have.
One of the things that Rhiannon, who teaches improvisation, is founder of the Vocal River, one of the things that I learned doing classes with her was that she would say, take longer, take longer, take longer. It doesn't have to be immediate. Take longer to find your part. Take longer to explore this improvisation, because it maybe is going to go somewhere else. I, like you, have this tendency to, okay, that was enough.
And
Let's
isn't
do a
that
wrap
a
on
beautiful
that.
lesson for this moment that we are in? Take longer. The
Yes.
pandemic
Yes.
slowed us down long enough to allow our bodies to experience what that is. In our culture, we don't have it, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make a blanket statement about others. I'll say I don't have it. I don't do it. I'm on the move, and I'm doing all the things. And it was a gift to be doing fewer things and to watch the sun go down and to take the walk and to plant the garden and to do, just to slow it down, look around. So, yeah, there are profound lessons in that. I'm also finding that as I've been maybe I've been forced to slow down rather than made the conscious choice, but many other really beautiful things have emerged. So Song Village was a tremendous gift. Going to Uvalde, incredibly powerful. Now I'm back. I'll be teaching at Omega the last week in July, which I haven't been in 3 years because they haven't held Family Week, which is when I teach. And I'm very excited to be
Right.
back there. I'm going with Arne Batson. We met there more than 45 years ago, so it's a real full circle thing. And then we'll be teaching in the Bahamas next fall, and we'll be going to South Africa in 24. Arne and I is coming. I'm going with a group of musicians, singers, song leaders to South Africa. So, there are things, big, beautiful, overarching things that would not have emerged, I don't think, if I hadn't left enough space.
Yeah. So there will be links for all of those things in the show notes. Are there any other questions that you wish I would ask you?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Anything that you are just yearning to say or share that hasn't come up at this point?
I just, maybe just that I want to thank all the listeners and all the singers and all of this extended community of people who are utilizing this gift that is your podcast and that is all of the other online offerings put together by other song leaders, whether it's Amy Ringel singing on Zoom once a week, or Heather Houston and all the work that she's done. I just want to honor everybody for staying together and knowing the importance of this beautiful work and receiving it and being there to give people like me and you a place to take what we do.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Amen. If I were in the movie. I'm curious to see if these answers have changed. Lightning round questions. They don't have to.
Okay.
If I were you, I wouldn't have any idea what I had said last
I
time.
don't remember.
Okay. What's an album that's really important to you?
What I probably said in 21 and what I will probably say now is that I suck at favorites, and my children will tell you, and I'm probably going to quote myself. I haven't listened, but my children were always so frustrated with me when they were growing up. Mom, which is your favorite? And I like them both is my answer. So, Sweet Honey in the Rock always is at my core, the Carnegie Hall album and so many others. Amy Ringel's voice I find to be a gift from heaven. So Human and Tender, all those songs. I can't do one. I'm always finding beautiful music to listen to. And yeah, I've been listening to a lot of young singer-songwriters. Last night, I went out in LA to hear Olivia Barton and Karuk. Many of you might have seen the video that has gone viral of their song, If I Were a Fish and You Caught Me, You'd Say, Look at that fish. It's gone quite wide all over the world. Anyway, they're young singer-songwriters, and they're just so wonderful. And I don't know, I'm besotted. I'm in love with people's creativity.
Okay, so can I ask you what your favorite soup is, or what soup would you be most likely to order in a restaurant?
Any soup with vegetables and no meat in it that isn't spicy, I'm down. I'm a huge soup lover. Invite me over for soup. I'm there.
Okay, so this one is not a favorite question. It's what is a sound that elicits a really strong reaction from you?
The sound of water, of a creek, a brook, a fountain, water moving.
Who is an artist you wish more people have heard of?
Who is an artist I wish more people have heard of? All the artists that you've interviewed, and everyone here has heard them.
Or maybe not, and they can go back and listen to all
Yes,
those past
please
episodes.
listen to all of them. I mean, really, I think Ale Blakely is doing incredible work, and I am really excited about her music, and I'm excited about what it does to the listener and the participant. And I think that she's cracking something open that it feels really powerful.
Hear, hear. Agreed. Before we close, where can we find you, follow your projects, buy your music, just in case somebody doesn't have the show notes open?
Okie dokie. So you can find me at goldenbridgechoir.com, goldenbridgechoir.com. That is my website. You can get on the mailing list there. I have a public Instagram, which is Maggie Wheeler _official, but I don't do a lot of music posting there, but you can certainly join me there. My children's book is available for pre-order at EbenezerSneezer.com, and Ebenezer is spelled with two E's, EBENEEZER, EbenezerSneezer.com. So you can pre-order the children's book, and it has a QR code in the back that will lead you to an audio recording, which has a song and some sound effects and some voices and some fun stuff that I did. So let's see, what else is there? Oh, yeah. And if you join my mailing list, I'll be sending out information about these next upcoming workshops. Omega, I don't know if there's still room at Omega. I imagine there is, which is the last week of July. I'll be teaching with Arne Batson. Meredith Scott Lynn will be drumming for us. It's going to be an absolute 5-day love fest of song. And then we'll be at the Shivananda Yoga Ashram in the Bahamas. I believe it's next March. If people are intrepid yoga song Bahama travelers, that's all I'll say about that. But anyway, I'll send out all that information, and on goldenbridgechoir.com you can buy my music. So you'll see that there's some singles available on the homepage, and there's a store, and there's all sorts of stuff. There's archives and all kinds of
Fabulous. Fabulous. Everybody needs a good internet rabbit hole for those moments,
I would also like to say that the next right thing for me is that I'm going to create either a SoundCloud or a Bandcamp playlist of a lot of the songs that have been traveling and some of the newer ones. And when I leave you here today, I'm going into the recording studio to do a studio version of The Crow Calls. And so that will be added to it. And that's something I really want people to know about. So join the mailing list, and I'll send out the info when I do it.
Fabulous. A huge thank you to you, Maggie, for coming on A Breath of Song again. And a huge thank you to you, our listeners, and to second everything that Maggie said about how much it matters to have a community of people doing this alone in the woods. It would be like the tree falling in the woods. It would not be so interesting. I'm so glad you're singing with us. Visit abreathofsong.com to see show notes with links, lyrics, Patty Piotrowski's glorious artwork. Sign up to get artwork and music in your mailbox. How beautiful is that? Be one of the generous people who leave something in the gratitude jar to help cover costs. Before Patty or I is paid, 25% is donated to the Jazz Foundation of America, which directly supports jazz, blues, and roots musicians in need. The skill and the artistry of these musicians has directly shaped most of the music I share on this podcast. Yet historically they have been inadequately recognized and unfairly recompensed. It's a small step towards restoration that we can take together. Let's sing the crow calls again to help it sink in more deeply.
Okay, here we go. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. The crow calls, the sun falls, they know the rhythm of it all. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. We are the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. Do the work. Put your hands in the dirt. Let's heal the hurt. The earth is waiting for us to do the work. We are the only put your hands in the dirt who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. We're the only ones who have forgotten how to listen. The earth is calling us to open up our ears. Put your hands in the dirt. The sun falls. Let's hear the hurt. They know the rhythm. The earth is waiting. The rhythm of it all. Put your hands in the dirt. The sun falls. Let's hear the hurt. They know the rhythm. The earth is waiting. The rhythm of it all. Do the work.
Maggie, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for the incredible conversation, and thank you for singing with me.
Bringing your cracked open heart. That was really beautiful. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I see that. Thank you, listeners and singers, for joining Maggie and me today for A Breath of Song. I'm grateful that you're taking care of yourself and listening to your own voice. I believe making a better world starts with tuning into ourselves and each other, which is what we just did. So, yay us.
Yay.
If you're liking this podcast, please share with a friend. And next time we'll plant another song. Until then, be well.
We did it.